After Jim and Esther stopped in front of La Femme, Jim stepped around the car quickly and opened Esther's door before the young valet attendant could reach it. "There she is," Jim said proudly as Esther stepped out carefully in black heels. The rain had softened into a mist now, barely touching her skin. Esther adjusted her dress nervously. Jim noticed immediately. "You okay?" he asked. "Yes." But her fingers kept smoothing invisible wrinkles from the fabric around her waist. Jim stepped closer. "You look beautiful tonight." Esther smiled softly. "Thank you." And for a moment, she let herself believe him. Inside La Femme, warmth wrapped around them instantly. It looked like the kind of restaurant people visited to remember things, to do big things, to make memories together. Golden chandeliers glowed softly against dark mahogany walls while slow jazz drifted through the room like smoke. Rain tapped gently against the tall front windows, blurring the city lights outside into watercolor streaks of gold and silver. Couples sat everywhere, some young, some old, some sitting across from each other silently, while others laughed loudly over wine and dessert. Esther noticed all of them, especially the younger women. She hated that. Hated how her eyes searched for them automatically now. Hated how comparison had slowly become a reflex she never asked for. A piano player sat near the far corner beneath dim amber lighting while a singer softly sang old jazz melodies that floated across the room without demanding attention. Just perfect. Esther loved places like this. Or at least she used to. The hostess arrived quickly, young, beautiful, confident in that effortless way youth often is. "Well, hello there," she said brightly while looking directly at Jim. Jim smiled politely. "Good evening." Only then did the young woman glance briefly towards Esther. Right this way." Esther noticed immediately how the girl positioned herself slightly closer to Jim while walking, slightly angling herself towards Jim, as if Esther were simply accompanying him instead of belonging beside him. Jim never noticed. That almost hurt worse. The hostess seated them near the piano beneath a hanging chandelier. "This is perfect," Jim said. Esther smiled faintly while looking around the room. At another table nearby sat a beautiful young couple laughing over cocktails. The woman couldn't have been more than 28 years old. Esther immediately compared herself, the skin, the body, her carefree spirit, and then immediately hated herself for doing it. Jim reached across the table. "Baby?" Esther blinked quickly. "Huh?" "You disappeared for a second," he said. "Oh," she smiled quickly. "I'm here. I'm here." Jim studied her carefully for a moment, not fully convinced. The hostess returned carrying menus. "What can I get you started with tonight?" she asked Jim warmly. Jim immediately turned to Esther. "What sounds good to you, baby?" Esther appreciated that, even if something inside her still ached. She ordered quietly. Jim followed afterwards, then proudly added, "It's my wife's birthday today. She loves this place." The hostess gasped dramatically. "Oh my gosh, really?" Esther smiled politely. "Well, we'll definitely take care of you tonight," the young woman said while touching Jim lightly on the shoulder before walking away. Esther watched her disappear. Jim reached for the candle sitting between them. "You know what I was just thinking?" he said. "What?" "You still make me nervous." Esther laughed softly. "After all these years?" "Especially after all these years." That helped, more than he realized. Their appetizers arrived. Foie gras, sliders, Maine lobster escargot, truffle parmesan bougie, and ragu beef tartare and caviar. Then drinks followed. A spiced cafe au lait for Esther and an aged calvados for Jim. Conversation slowly began organically warming the spaces between them again. Oh, they laughed over old stories, remembered terrible vacations, argued playfully over who burned down their first grill 20 years ago. You absolutely left that propane open, Esther accused. Jim pointed dramatically at her. That is a lie from the pits of hell, Esther. Esther laughed loudly enough for nearby guests to smile towards them. And for a while, they found each other again. Then the birthday dessert arrived. The hostess returned with 2 servers and a tiny, elegant, sparkling candle dancing in the middle of chocolate mousse. The staff sang loudly while nearby tables joined in or clapped politely. Esther covered her face laughing, and she reluctantly flashed 5 fingers 2 times when they quietly asked how old she was. Then the hostess smiled brightly and said, "Oh, wow, I never would have guessed your age. My grandmother is only a few years older than you." Silence. The words landed hard. The older couple nearby froze slightly, and Jim blinked. Esther's smile remained on her face, but her eyes changed instantly. The hostess continued smiling proudly, completely unaware. "Well, your grandmother is very blessed then," Esther said as graciously as she could. Then suddenly the older waitress stepped in smoothly. "Well, I've seen her grandmother, and well, unlike her," the waitress said warmly while shooting the girl a sharp look, "I think you are absolutely stunning." Esther looked surprised. The waitress smiled kindly. "And happy birthday." The younger hostess disappeared awkwardly afterwards. The older waitress followed her soon after. Jim reached for Esther's hand. "You okay?" "I'm fine. Why wouldn't I be?" she said, but her voice sounded tired now. The older waitress returned later with a complimentary dessert plate written in elegant chocolate lettering. It said, "For the beautiful birthday woman." Esther stared at the plate silently. "You see that?" Jim said proudly. Esther smiled. "Yes, I see that." "You see that?" Jim teased again. Esther shook her head while smiling. "Don't start, Jim." They returned to their comfortable conversation, laughing softly before sharing that dangerous chocolate dessert Esther loved so much. "You still attack chocolate like a teenager," Jim teased. "And you still flirt with waitresses like one too," Esther muttered quietly. Jim laughed, not fully hearing what she had said. Esther smiled too, but it was a different type of smile. A little while later, she excused herself to go to the restroom. Inside the silent bathroom, Esther stared at herself in the mirror. She made up her mind. She was cute tonight. No, she was beautiful tonight. The makeup, the hair, the sassy dress, the effort, all of it. She was beautiful. But somewhere beneath it all, something still felt off. Esther touched beneath her eyes gently, then her waist, then the soft lines near her mouth. She remembered being younger, commanding a room and other women not feeling like competition. Oh, she missed those days. Water ran softly from another sink nearby, and Esther closed her eyes briefly, then inhaled slowly and returned towards the dining room. But the moment she stepped out, she froze. The young waitress stood beside their table again, very close to Jim, laughing, leaning slightly towards him. Jim smiled politely while talking to her. Esther stopped near the hallway entrance leading from the bathroom, just waiting for him to notice, waiting for him to create distance, waiting for him to acknowledge her. But he didn't. And from where Esther stood, it felt humiliating, just like it did when he had that affair 10 years ago. The piano music continued softly while something hardened inside her chest. Esther lingered inside the bathroom, thinking about what she would do. Should she leave him? What should she do? It was just thoughts going everywhere. And then she hid back into that hallway and back into the bathroom, and she just started to sing her heart out. Hey, hey, hey,
deception, tired of crying. If you wanna be disrespectful, I'm giving it over, my love. Look at her looking at you. I'm waiting to see what you're gonna do. Right now I don't see you responding the way I need for you to. So I have decided that this, it might not work. Is every pretty face that comes before you gonna put her feelings over mine? I'm tired of being in the background. Oh, I don't wanna be your conscience. I'm gonna give it up, give over you. I'ma get over. Tired of accepting, tired of crying. I'm giving it over, my love. I'ma get over you. I'ma get over you. I'ma get over you. All over you. I'm gonna get over this relationship. Yeah, I can't seem to stand this anymore. Every young girl coming and it gets you all excited. No baby, you can't ignore it. You know it hurts me. Why won't you say something? I'm not gonna stand here no more. You gotta be right with me, but you keep on playing me some more. So I'ma give it up, give over you. Yeah, I'm gonna get over. Sick it, I'm gonna get over. Sick it today. I'ma get over today. I'ma get over. I'ma get over today.
When Esther finished singing, she looked around, and a few women were looking at her, but she didn't care. Her heart was hardened, and she wanted to talk to Jim now. Esther slowly walked back towards the table. Jim looked up instantly. His expression changed immediately when he saw her face. The hostess turned casually towards Esther and smiled, still not moving away. Esther looked directly at Jim. She wasn't angry, but she was definitely wounded, deeply wounded. The hostess finally got the picture and excused herself awkwardly. The second she walked away, Esther spoke. "I can't do this anymore, Jim." Jim blinked. "What? Do what?" "You keep allowing women to disrespect me right in front of you." "What?" he asked. "You don't stop it. You don't acknowledge me. You just sit there smiling at my expense." Jim looked stunned. "Baby, I wasn't..." She cut him off. "You think because you don't want them, I shouldn't feel anything? That's not true, baby. I wasn't..." She cut him off again. "Then what is true?" Silence, real silence this time. Esther's eyes filled. "You know what hurts?" she whispered. "Watching younger women walk right past me like I no longer matter. And you letting it happen." Jim's face softened completely now. No more defense. Listening, finally listening. "I'm not interested in them, so I ignore them. And I honestly thought ignoring them protected us, baby," he admitted quietly. Esther shook her head sadly. "No, Jim, acknowledging me protects us." That hit him hard. "Do you introduce me to friends? Your older women friends, other men?" Jim nodded. He did. "Then introduce your wife to these girls," Esther continued. "Make it known she matters. Make it known she matters." Jim lowered his eyes briefly, and this time he completely understood. "You're right, baby," he said. The hostess returned once more carrying a refill pitcher. Before she could speak, Jim looked directly at her. "Excuse me?" The girl froze. Jim gestured calmly towards Esther. "You spent most of this evening speaking around my wife instead of to her." The young girl blinked quickly. I didn't mean to She is the reason I'm sitting here tonight," Jim continued firmly, "and I would appreciate you remembering that." The hostess apologized quickly before walking away embarrassed. Esther stared at Jim in shock. Then suddenly she laughed despite herself. Jim looked confused. "What? That's not exactly what I wanted." "Well, I'm trying," he admitted. Esther laughed softly again before sighing deeply. "I don't need you fighting girls in restaurants, Jim." "I wasn't fighting." "You were close." That made Jim laugh. But Esther's face slowly turned serious again. "I just want respect," she said. Jim nodded slowly. "I understand now." Esther studied him for a moment, then softly asked, "That girl still work at your office?" Jim froze slightly. "Baby, you know she doesn't." Esther stared at him, long enough for him to understand she did not fully believe him. Finally, she stood slowly and lifted her purse. "I guess I can see for myself tomorrow. I just need to be alone for a while, Jim. I'm sorry." She was leaving. When Esther reached the desk to reclaim her coat, she looked around to see where Jim was. He wasn't in his seat anymore. Then she heard it. Jim was speaking into the mic. Esther made her way back to try and stop him, but it was too late. The piano player shifted songs, and Jim's expression changed immediately into a sincere smile when he saw her. "Oh, no," Esther whispered. But as he started to sing, she couldn't help but to be drawn back to her seat, and it was as if Jim sang just to her.
Oh, baby, get your cute self back in here. I want the whole world now to know I care for you. I want to hold your hand and dance all over this place. I want your heart and mind to occupy space. Oh baby, I wanna tell everybody that I really love you, that you're the most beautiful woman in here. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh baby, I want the whole world to know I care. Can you hear my heart up in here? Ooh, I never meant to hurt you, I want you with me. Can you please forgive me? I wanna wish my baby a happy birthday, but I keep getting in the way. Oh baby, won't you forgive me? Walk this life out for eternity with me. I want the whole world to know I care for you. Baby, come beside me, let's go and ride this life out like we don't care about nothing but each other in here. Let's come together, my baby and me. My wife, my heart and my soul.
By the time he finished, Esther was smiling and swaying in her seat. Other couples clapped softly and were dancing on the dance floor. They continued as the original singer took back over. Jim walked over to where Esther was swaying in her seat, and he sat down next to her. He nodded towards the other couples dancing. "Dance with me?" he asked. Esther studied his eyes. After some time, she said, "I don't need to go to your job tomorrow, Jim." Jim studied her this time. Then, with a knowing smile on his face, he said, "Yeah, you do." Then he extended his hand again. "Come dance with me." "Jim," she started to protest, but she was already smiling and giving him her hand. Nearby couples watched while Jim pulled her towards the dance floor. Jim wrapped one arm around Esther carefully while music floated gently around them. And then Jim sang softly against her ear, just for her. The room slowly disappeared around Esther while they swayed together beneath the chandelier light, and for a few fragile moments she felt young again, because love briefly became louder than insecurity, louder than 10 years ago. When the song ended, nearby guests applauded softly because Jim and Esther still commanded a room on the dance floor. Jim kissed her forehead. "There she is," he whispered. Esther smiled against his chest. Afterwards, they went back to their chair and just talked, laughed, held hands, and were a couple again. And as Esther let Jim love her, Jim watched her silently. And somewhere beneath the jazz, the candlelight, and chocolate dessert, the fear between them had finally started giving way.